within a day. A huge amount of pyroclastic material, a huge hole developed over a matter of hours or days. And that to me is very fascinating.
The devastating byproducts of the Pinatubo eruption had long-term effects that killed hundreds, effects that continue to this day. But a mega eruption, one that volcanologists are certain will happen, could threaten millions. The VEI-6 eruption of Mount Pinatubo and its after-effects killed more than 700, sent a huge ash and gas cloud around the globe, and lowered the Earth's surface temperature. If we were to experience a VEI-7 super eruption, it would be 10 times larger. It would destroy all life for dozens of kilometers. It would drastically change the Earth's climate, and scientists say it will happen someday. The 5 million people in the Naples, Italy area live in the highest volcanic risk zone in the world. Approximately 11 kilometers to the east is Mount Vesuvius. Its 79 AD eruption killed more than 20,000 in Pompeii and other villages. Since then, the volcano has erupted 50 times, most recently in 1944. Vesuvius looms over Naples as a constant threat. But 15 kilometers to the west is a far less conspicuous but potentially far more deadly volcano, Campi Flegrei. Campi Flegrei is an enormous 13-kilometer wide caldera with a series of craters scattered inside. 350,000 people actually live within the caldera walls. Since Campi Flegrei is not a tall, imposing volcano like Vesuvius, it attracts little attention. But volcanologists like Steve Self know the massive power it contains.
Here we are in the middle of a volcano that's got a remarkable history of eruptions since it was first formed about 35,000 years ago. This area has had repeated eruptions, forming the craters like the one we're in. We're in a volcanic crater that still has steam vents acting and hissing, as you can hear behind us.
These steam vents reach temperatures of nearly 700 degrees. To a casual observer, that's impressive. But to experts, the vents, along with ground shifts, are ominous warning signs. An indicator of Campi Flegrei's power lies in deposits left by a massive eruption 35 to 40,000 years ago. It was 10,000 times larger than the 1991 Pinatubo eruption. These 80-meter-tall cliffs in Sorrento, 30 kilometers from Campi Flegrei, are composed of volcanic material left from the super eruption. Volcanologist Giuseppe Mastrolorenzo knows they are geological proof that enormous pyroclastic flows swept through this entire area.
The pyroclastic flow moved this way as a turbulent cloud and then emplaced en masse, thus causing the burying of all the area around Naples.
What scientists know about Campi Flegrei's past gives them a realistic model of what could happen in its future. The scenario begins with a massive disturbance somewhere within the vast caldera. A super eruption. More than 242 cubic kilometers of dust, gas and pumice hurtle into the air.
It would bury very large areas, the size of a major city or more, in thicknesses of ash that are hundreds of feet thick.
Enormous pyroclastic flows race from the volcano at near supersonic speeds. Buildings that aren't already buried by ash are knocked down by the force of the flows, or incinerated by their 800-degree temperatures. The once proud city is completely annihilated. The death toll from the flows and ash is appalling. apocalyptic.
We can assume that in case of a super eruption, several million of people will be killed.
The casualties and destruction spread far beyond the immediate area. The eruption column grows to a staggering height of 30 kilometers. Heavy ashfall smothers towns near the caldera and spreads as far away as Rome, 225 kilometers away. The city is pelted with more than 20 centimeters of ash. Enough to cause roofs to collapse and kill thousands of people. Smaller amounts of ash fall across Eastern Europe and parts of Asia, but even small amounts of ash cause big problems.
Even a dusting of a few centimeters would create total disruption to transport systems, to water supplies, to things that we regularly rely on in our daily life. Enough to bury plants, enough to strip the branches and leaves off trees and things like that.
The enormous quantity of ash and sulfuric dioxide released by the volcano triggers a planet-wide condition, one affecting millions.
Atmospheric models are predicting that the temperature could drop several degrees centigrade, and this would affect weather for many years, 4 or 5 years perhaps after a very large eruption. And temperatures would change, areas where crops would grow may not be able to grow those crops.
Huge areas of vegetation would die. Millions could starve to death. Ultimately, the entire planet and everyone on it would be dramatically affected.
If you consider the number of volcanoes, supervolcanoes around the world that could potentially produce super eruptions, recognizing the fact that there are probably several out there that we don't know about yet, we've still got a huge amount to learn about this scale of volcanism, then there's possibly something like a 1% chance that an eruption could happen in the next 100 years, which is quite high actually.
High enough for scientists to urge discussions of this type of disaster in the international community. Volcanologists know that there is no way to prevent an eruption. So they learn from the past and study the present in order to help mankind prepare for the future.